Welcome to chapter 28. So we're almost out of inflectional morphology at this point, which means we're going to look a bit more at word formation, but especially we're going to start looking at some constructions, periphrastic constructions, and miscellaneous cool ways to say things in Mari using the building blocks that we already have. And we're going to start at having another look at something which we saw for the first time in a systematic way last week, and that is the imperative of the third person singular and plural, which can also be used to form final clauses. So clauses that denote for what reason, for what purpose does somebody do something. And here we can see a few positive examples where it is done. And what we're doing here is that we use the complementizer manın, this saying complementizer, which we already had expressing the content of a statement, of a thought, or something like that. So basically just as a marker of direct speech or indirect speech, however we want to call it. It's a distinction that doesn't really work in the same way in Mari. But yes, we can also use it to denote a purpose. And we can do this with the imperative third person singular. We have already seen manın as a, here you can also see that it also works in negation. So it is like that we can say, I took medicine, I drank medicine in order for my head to stop hurting. Or so. So in order for the stopping of the hurting of the head, basically. Or in negation, we pour water. Why do we pour water? In order for manın, pushenge inje koshko, the tree, may the tree not dry out. So for the tree not to dry out. We have already seen manın denoting final clauses before, not with the imperative, but with the infinitive. And in some contexts, we can say that they are like roughly equivalent. The construction which we already knew, konkursishto sengash manın, in order to win in the competition, tudo chot yandelalten, they prepared a lot. Or we could say konkursishto sengaje manın, with now imperative third person singular, and it means basically the same thing. But one possibility we have here that we didn't have with the infinitive is that with the infinitive, it has to be co-referential. It has to be the person does something for them to do blah, blah, blah. But with this, you could in theory also have like, I helped Sergei a lot so that he would win in the competition, which you cannot do with the infinitive. So I helped for Sergei to win in the competition. So with different subjects in the two clauses, within restrictions, that then works when we have the infinitive. The imperative in the third person. Yeah, and that's basically all I have to say on this topic. There is not much more to say, but please still interrupt me if there's something that I glossed over too quickly, if somebody has any follow-up questions. Next thing we want to look at is a necessitive construction formed using the future necessitive participle in shash, which we have already met, together with positive or negative forms of ulаш to be. And this construction, this necessitive construction, careful here, it is not the dative that, like the person that has to do something is not in the dative. This one is inflected by person in a regular way, and the person that has to do something is the grammatical subject and is in the nominative. And this necessitive construction that we see here, this we can see more as something used to denote, let's say, ethical obligations, rather than necessities brought about for miscellaneous circumstances. I am obliged to do something. I have there is something that I have to do because like the ethical rules dictate it of me. like if you say like I have to go because there's like, if you would say like I have to go because the last bus is leaving in 15 minutes, then you would maybe say ulаш rather, or the man construction. But if you're saying that I have to go because my family is waiting for me at home or something, then you would be more likely to say use the šaš construction. Okay, I just realized there's an error. There's a problem in this slide. It's not telling you which verb we want to inflect now. The verb is ludaš, to read. And we want to see if we can form this necessitive construction with ludaš in all persons, positive and negative. And maybe we can do, Valentina, can you try to do all the positive forms? So it is just the participle followed by to be in the respective person.
Yes, so it will be lučaš ulam, lučaš ulat, then just lučaš, lučaš ulina, lučaš ulida, and lučaš ulit.
Very good. Sandra, can you do the negative forms?
We try. So there would be lučaš omel.
Very good.
Lučaš otel, lučaš ogesh. Oh, yeah.
Ogel.
Ogel. Sorry.
No.
Lučaš oginal, lučaš ogital, and lučaš ogetil.
Very good. Yeah, and here we see some example. We must all research, preserve, and strengthen our native tongues and our customs, as the professor is going to be saying in this text. And the professor is not saying this because there's like some contractual obligation to this. We have an internal ethical need to do this, is what the professor is saying. Okay, the next point is something this we have already seen. We saw it specifically we discussed it when we first met the simple past tense 2. We also saw this in chapter 21 when we had the interview with Andrei Chemyshev, talking about the names of the railway stations in Mari. He used a special form of the simple past tense 2 in this in his spoken Mari. And here we now see that this in spoken Mari, it happens fairly commonly that an earlier form in the grammaticalization process of the simple past tense 2 is formed. So remember what we said about how the simple past tense 2 is formed, that we have a converb, the converb in N, followed by, in the positive forms, well, today we have these endings am, at, na, regardless of the conjugation class. And here I said that it's always am regardless of the conjugation class, because these are forms of, it comes from I am, ulam. And since ulаш to be is a first conjugation verb, we always have the first conjugation endings regardless of the conjugation class of the verb, that you can only see the conjugation class on the converb part of the whole thing. Yeah, and the origin of the simple past tense 2 is very transparent in negation, where we, at least in Meadow Mari, have not had any morphologization processes. In Hill Mari we have, but that's a different cup of tea. So originally we had converb plus be, and now we have these drawn together forms. So if we now look at a verb ludaš again, Luan, can you form the regular simple past tense 2, so the morphological ones, the ones that we've been using till now of ludaš? Okay, it's again the problem with the microphone. It's very quiet. But, yeah.
Is it already better?
Okay, I think it's getting better.
Okay, I try again.
Yeah, okay.
So it's then ludinam, ludina, ludin,
yeah,
ludinda, and ludinit.
Very good. And Kevin, do you now want to try the periphrastic forms, the original forms, that where this came from?
Sure. So that'd be luden olam, luden olat, Luden, I guess, without anything else because third person.
Yeah.
Luden ulana, Luden ulada, Luden ulet.
Exactly. So I put the singular forms in gray here simply because, okay, in the third person singular, since we don't use a copula, there's nothing there. But first person, second person singular, this is comparatively rare. But in plural, it's comparatively common, especially in spoken language. And you'll hear it quite often, Luden ulana instead of Luden na, as we read. I mean, this is something that happens quite common in languages of the world, that you have like morphologization processes where there's variation within the speaker community, how far along it is, but then the literary norm will either be based on a form where it's pretty far along the process or not very far along the process. And yeah, but then, so in spoken language, we still see the variation. So that's it on grammar for this week, unless there are some questions.
I might have something that occurs in the text. Maybe, I'm not sure if we're going to talk about it then, but it seemed to me that there was a lot of like use of the either illative or lative with purаш. Is that something we've talked about before that I forgot?
This is coming in word-and-word usage.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So good question, since I do have an answer. Okay. So the first point in word and word usage is purаш, to enter, to go in, and the various things that this verb does. And and I have now a categorization of four different categories here. So this, what we see here, this is the first way how we met purаш initially. When I say did somebody enter the house, go into the house, or institutischkaje shela, while going to the institute, me café purashna, we went into the cafe, we stepped into the cafe. So this is the basic lexical meaning of this verb, is just to go into something, to enter something. But then we have two important figurative meanings which we are going to look at now, and these are things that we have now, like that occur in the text a lot. So if we say like memnan yilme yeshish, into our language family, kizit now latvich yilme nare, about 15 languages pura. About 15 languages go into our language family today. Or this city goes into the Kirov Oblast, or this tree goes into the family of the willow. So this is just belonging. And that's then especially with the illative. If you have, well, I mean, purаш in general has, but this is like just a very common figurative meaning of purаш, that it's not just going into something, but belonging to something. And yeah, then we have illative. So here are things, this is less from this chapter, but things that we've had all over. If I say, for example, Universitäten Ptaramekem, after finishing university, I entered into studying into a postgraduate course. So that's basically then something like starting, getting into something in a figurative sense. Or if we say that the samovar started boiling, literally you say the samovar enters into boiling or so. Or kevetish ujala shalan puren, they entered to a store, like to a salesperson with a dative, meaning just that you start working in this this job. Yeah. And then the fourth thing that I have here is, well, we have discussed this structure before, but when I'm verbalizing motion events, so in the things that we had under A, And all of these things, entering the house, I'm not saying anything about how I am entering the house. I mean, from context, it's clear that I'm probably going to be walking into the house, but I'm not actually saying if I am walking into the house or if I'm riding my bicycle into the house or inline skating or flying or crawling or swimming or whatever. If you want to do that, if you want to indicate how you are carrying out an activity, how you are entering something, you use these converbial constructions where you say, for example, I was reading a book, at this time, Sholim, Poland, Purish, okay, he came, entered in. Or here, when we say, Karme, shashkem, chongesten, Purish. The fly into my mouth, flying entered. So I'm making clear here that the fly, it flew in, it didn't crawl in or anything, which could have also been possible. The manner in which you carry out the movement is in the converb, and then the finite verb is purash. And this is the standard way if you are if you are verbalizing a motion event, and you want to denote both the manner, how you carry out the movement, and the directionality. The standard way is that the manner is in the converb, like flying, crawling, swimming, and the directionality is in the inflected verb. And so if you do things like the airplane flies into the cloud, it would flying enter the cloud. Or if you say the swimmer swims into the whale's mouth, the swimmer would swimming enter the whale's mouth, or something like this. But it only works with intransitive verbs. Does anyone want to guess what you would have what you would have to use if you wanted to do the same thing with the transitive verb, like carry or lug or something like that?
So I guess it's purtash.
Purtash, exactly. So we have purtash as the transitive counterpart of purash, to enter in something into something, to bring something in. And if you want to say like I dragged the bag into the house, then then you would dragging enter it in the house with purtash. Okay. So much for purash. Another word that deserves some comments is tüрлӧ, which we have until now mostly met as an adjective, meaning different, various, or sorts of. But as we see in this chapter, it can also be used as a noun, meaning different things, various things, or sort of things. And it is quite commonly used here to, like in Mari, if you want to denote like, I've seen some things, basically, like I've seen some crazy shit or so. It's like an undefined mass of things, of happenings, especially like in context where you don't have to say what kind of stuff you saw. Like if you are aware of the fact that there was a history of unethical behavior at a university department 20 years ago, and you said, yeah, I was at the department at that time and I saw some things, you would say tüрлö, like different things. Okay, so here we have first some meaning, some usage examples where we see it with as an adjective, like tüрлö rayonlaştı, in different regions. Tüрлö şudum, various herbs, different herbs. Tüрлö yanlık ila, in more forests, different animals live. But then we have Yilmum aralamum charnashkin, if one ceases preserving a language, yilmedena tüрлö jatlian kertesh. With the language, different things can happen, like the unspeakable can happen, like or whatnot. About this person, a lot is said. I've literally heard this asked in an interview of someone. Hey, so I was not the person being asked. Hey, so they say a lot of things about you in the newspaper. Is it true what they say about you? And that question was something tendan nergen türlüm oylat or so. Like there are rumors about you. And the person that was asked this response then like, what do they say about me? Oh, türlüm. Is it true what they say about you? And we actually ended up looking through like newspaper archives to try to figure out what these rumors supposedly were, and we never figured it out. Yeah. Okay, and Sar Godam tüрлӧ mat ushalten during the war was seen. And okay, we're just glossing over that we have this an impersonal verb with an accusative here, but like different things were seen, the unspeakable, so to say. Okay, and okay, I wasn't sure if Sandra was trying to say something, but yeah, no, okay. And last point that we have here, this is a construction. It's somewhat hard to grasp, but pretty cool. That if you say something like Umılashıje, огыт, умыло, which is literally, they don't understand to understand with the possessive suffix. This strategy is used both with negation and without negation, basically to equivocate, to give a sort of a, or yes and no kind of answer, like sort of, you want to equivocate. You don't want to say exactly yes, you don't want to say exactly no. Like where in German, there's this beautiful portmanteau word, jein, so yes, ja, nein. Or for those of you that know the Russian cultural context, if you know the Radio Yerevan jokes, where it's always somebody calls into the radio station and says, hey, is it true that blah, 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 blah? And then the response is always, principe da, no, well, in basically yes, but, ha, 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 or so. And like the classical joke is like, Radio Yerevan, is it true that Ivan Grigorievich won a red car in the lottery? And so, yes, basically it's true, but it wasn't Ivan Grigorievich, it was Grigory Ivanovich. And it wasn't red, it was blue. And it wasn't a car, it was a bicycle. And he didn't win it in the lottery, it was stolen. And this is like a whole formula of jokes that you have in Russia. So if you wanted to give like this kind of answer, well, yes and no, blah, 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 this is where what you can do. They don't understand to understand. Or like, like, do you like fish? And then you say, kochkashiže kochken kertam, like, I can't eat it, but I don't like it or so. And this would be like, for example, if like somebody asked me, like, I'm a vegetarian, and somebody asks me, do you eat eggs? And it's like, well, I'm not opposed to eating eggs. I just think they're completely disgusting. So then I could say, kochkashiže kochken kertam, like I can eat them, but I don't want to, basically. So like a yes, no in between question. Or have you been to Kazan? Well, I haven't really been there, but I have seen so many videos about the place that I basically feel like I know it. Yeah. Okay, are there any questions about any of the grammar points, any of the vocabulary points before we get to the text? Okay, so the text today is Me ik mlanten shochijo ulana. We are children of one land, where a famous Finnish professor is visiting Yoshkaola. The famous Finnish professor does not get a name. But my guess is that this could be like based on visits by either Arko Arkoniemi, could even be Sirkka Saarinen already, or Kaisa Häkkinen. There are a lot of Finnish scholars that are well known and respected in Yoshkaola, so this could be based on actual visit, because they did happen, especially like around the time. So yeah, you are free to mentally insert Sirkka Saarinen or Arko Arkoniemi or whoever into the dialogue. And we can start with Valentina, maybe.
Okay. So, kumdan palime fin shënqizhe Yoshkaola shtolin, da universitetit se student vlak dhe ne vashlin mutlanen. So, I would say a widely known or well-known Finnish scholar came to Yoshkaola and talked and met and talked with the university students. So they had a meeting with university students.
Yep. Then Sandra?
He, she, they researches the Mari language and speaks it well themselves.
Then Luan?
Mari kondeme stemme ik gana vele oge lienam togegenat tendandik ulo kumelentolam. So I only been a single time to the in the Mari Republic, but like nevertheless I got like what was Ulu Kumelen again? Some positive feeling.
Yeah, happily, basically, gladly.
So I'm happily coming to you.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe I just missed it in hearing, but it is not only one time. So I've already been here several times. Ikana vele ogo. So not just one time. Yeah. So basically, I'm not yet sick of Mari out, even though I've been here already many times before. Kevin?
Finlandia din Mari Republic Shukartsek Kulam Kuchen Ilat. So Finland and the Mari Republic I'm getting stuck on Shukert and Kil.
Okay, Shukertsek is like for a long time, since time immemorial. And Kil is a connection.
Oh, so Finland and the Mari Republic have been connected to one another for a long time.
Yeah, basically, they've been maintaining
lived in connection.
Yeah, maintaining a connection. Yeah. Okay, and then Valentina?
Okay. Vetme ik mlandim shoch shijo ulena ilme shotistat ik tukshash purena. After all, we are children, let's say, of the same land, of one land, and I think that means that our languages belong to the same group or are part of the same group.
Yeah, so what it's literally is like, also in respect to language, we belong to one group. So it's like Purena is like first.
Yeah.
Okay, then Sandra?
Temar lapesh sayin kuterada. You speak Mari very well.
Then Luan?
Mari yulmem kusto da kuse tunemen ulita. So where and how did you learn the Mari language?
And Kevin?
Mari yulmem shukartak tunemash tungalenam. I started studying Mari a long time ago.
And Valentina?
Okay. Finno-Ugristik ilmem shimlime godim tide tushkash puresho ilme vlakim shimlide okli. Okay, so I wasn't too sure about this sentence, to be honest, but it was like during research on Finno-Ugric languages, then something about the language group. So is it like that there was no research on Mari?
This is an impersonal construction, this shimlede okli. I'm not 100% sure if we discussed this at some point, but that you can use the negative part converb in de with okli as it is not possible to say, like there's no way around this. One can't do without this.
Okay, so they mean that you need to know the language if you want to do research on Finno-Ugric languages. Okay.
Yeah, rather the languages belonging to this group.
Yeah.
So like if you want to, when studying if you want to study Finno-Ugric languages, if you're studying Finno-Ugric languages, there's no way around. You have to study the languages belonging to the group.
Yeah. Thank you.
And this is similar to the rationale that we have in Vienna on why you should do, basically have to do smaller languages too if you're doing Finno-Ugric linguistics, because we don't want people to abstract from Finnish, Estonian, and Hungarian onto the language family as a whole, which in international linguistic publications and typology often happens.
That's true.
Yeah, and I mean, and they just by design, they're going to be the most Europeanized, the most westernized languages that we have, especially in syntax. And what's typical of them is not going to be typical of the language family necessarily. Yeah, okay, then Sandra.
Te palada memnan yelma yeşiş gizit Latvich yemenare pura Finn Bengal Eston Karel Mordva Mari Damulat. You know, yeah, we have like oh no, oh wait, no, now we have about 15 languages belonging to our language family. Finnish, Hungarian, Estonian, Karelian, Latvian, Mari, and others.
Yes. On the one hand, permic erasure, on the other hand, making sure that all the Mordvins hate you by calling Mordvin a language. Luan?
Osno esje shukurak yilmeli and ulmash. So and once there were also more languages.
And Kevin?
Ik weet jaar ilmage neria muram da molat yom ulet. So a few of those languages, Meria, Muram and Molat are not immediately obvious.
Murom is just Moromian, the language. It was extinct language spoken around Murom in Russia. And Molat is Molo is other and others.
Oh, so and others, okay. Yom and Ulet, they have disappeared.
Very good. Then Valentina?
Kalasiza nine ilme vlak iktevese deci kugun oirte maltit mo. So tell us, do these languages greatly differ from one another?
Mutlan Finn vlak Mariam Umilen Kertet. For example, do Finns are Finns able to understand Maris?
Yeah, or like a Mari or so. Then Luan?
Umılashıje огыт umılо with ilen tolen yılmina jot tolen. So they don't really understand each other, but as time went by, our languages like what was it, like separated a lot, or
Yeah, and the professor is here then saying, well, they don't understand, but is now going to say some things that are still similar in the languages, so didn't want to give a flat out no answer here. Okay, and then Kevin?
No, rodotukam was purlen ogel. But there are not I'm not sure about either rodatukam or well, honestly, anything in this particular sentence, I'm afraid.
Okay, then maybe we can skip to Valentina.
Okay. it was somehow metaphorical. I think it was like rodotukim is the kin, and vosh is the root.
Yeah.
So I had something like the roots have not been torn.
Exactly, like the
Yeah.
roots of our kinship have not been torn.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Sandra.
Okay. Nina Yelma Vlakim Yater Ikai Mut Ushan Sugar. What was Yater again?
Several, many.
Ah, thank you. Like for different, like several similar words connect these languages.
Very good. Yeah. And this Ushen Shuga, this is just a convert construction. It's like they joining stand. So it's like a long lasting derivative, a static thing. Okay, Luan.
Mutlan Mari Yulmishte Muno Eston the Fin Yulmishte Muna. So for example, Muno, like egg in the Mari language, and Muna in Estonian and Finnish.
Then Kevin.
The guy mutvlakam shuko onchik tashliesh. You generic unspecified person, you have to look at these sorts of similar words a lot.
Almost. You can show. It's like onchash would be see, but onchiktash is to show. So you could show many such similar words. Okay, then Valentina. I can't hear anything, Valentina, or?
Sorry, it crashed. Okay. Același tunește minar Finno-Ugr kalik ullo. So how many Finno-Ugric peoples are there in the whole world?
What a can of worms to open. Okay. Then yeah, Sandra.
Westkalik dene tangas tarimashta Finno-Ugr kalik tushka kugujak ogil. Okay. Yeah, this I gotta admit, this is the paragraph I didn't get to really.
Okay, we can skip you if you want.
Maybe, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Then Luan.
Okay, so the Westphalic sentence. But like when comparing the Finno-Ugrian people to other people, like the group is like not that big or something.
Yeah, not so big or so. And Kevin?
Which word am I starting from?
Nina, first line Nina.
Okay. Nina Yilma blocked in iktaj Koklavich million nare yen kutra. So around 25 million people speak these languages.
Yeah, and what's not mentioned here is that over half of them are speak Hungarian. So that's kind of like makes these statistics a bit of medium value. Okay, Valentina.
Okay. Kolovich million shagaljak ogil no ilmim agalimim charnashgin ilma dene turlijat lin kertesh. So 25 million is not little. It's not a small number. But if basically if we stop defending the language, that's the point when different things can happen to it.
Yep. Then Luan.
Sedlan te Samarik tuk Yilme Inche Yom Manen Olo Vidam Pistishash Oleda. So that's or like therefore you the young generation like in order to and this part I didn't really get, like in order to not like want to lose the I have zero idea.
Careful, I think you're maybe reading it as a desiderative, but it's not.
Yes. So it's like wait, is it like imperative? So in order
Exactly.
to, like language like should not or something disappear.
Yeah, so that the language doesn't disappear.
Okay. You have to put in all your strength.
Very good. Then Kevin.
All right. Michelanat Shochma Yilmanam Yilanam Shimlashash Aralashash Da Viandashash Ulana. Did I just read Luan's sentence again or
No, that was right.
okay. So we need to do what was aralash?
Preserve, protect.
Oh, we need to preserve and influence.
Not influence.
Beyond strengthen.
Strengthen.
Our native language.
And our
and our culture, I assume.
Customs. Yeah. So we, all of us, that's in the Chilanat, have to Shimlashash, research, Agalashash, protect, the Viangdashash, and strengthen our native language and customs. Okay, Valentina.
Vet ilme petagin kalikat peta. So after all, if the language ends, dies out, but the people dies out too.
Exactly. Okay, Sandra, do you want to try the next one?
Ja. Kalasi za, пожалуйста, профессор, ik też вердес, елаштем Mari Yilmam Shumashe Ulitmo. Please, Professor, tell us in which other countries the Mari language is researched?
Yeah, it's a polar question. Like, are there researchers of the Mari language somewhere in other countries?
Okay.
Then Luan.
Tüрлӧ lachte Finno-Ugristik Pelen Mari Yilmam tonemet finlandische, wengrische, germanische, esische, austrische, franzische, japanische, da molo variat. So in different countries, the Mari language, you can learn the Mari language in like at the Finno-Ugristik department in Finland, in Hungary, in Germany, in the USA, in Austria, in France, in Japan, and also in other places.
Right, then Kevin.
Mulla Finno-Ugor Yilmedene Tangastaramaste akret god so finu gormut vlak da palje vlak putaraksayan aralalt kodenet. So other Finno-Ugric. I'm getting a little bit hung up on the end, unfortunately, which is where I need to start to translate.
Okay.
So the coordinate is stayed more or less, or
yes, but it's in a converb construction. So aralat coordinate would be
aralalt I'm also unsure of.
Okay, so we had aralashe as protect and as such, and aralaltash, the sort of reflexive passive derivation from this is like to be preserved, to be maintained. And that is, as in the converb construction, aralalt kodash, it's like just to be preserved to the present day, like to.
Oh, okay. Oh, so they are well preserved to the present day. Ancient Finno-Ugric words and palevlak morphemes, I want to say.
Symbols, but I would just read this as features.
Features, okay. Are well preserved.
Yeah, or especially like putarak is especially well preserved.
In comparison with other Finno-Ugric languages.
Yeah, well, I'm somewhat skeptical about this sentence on the content basis, but it's something the Mari certainly love to hear. It's also like the Maris really love to hear that Mari El is ancient Finno-Ugric land. What they don't necessarily like to hear is that for the longest time it was Permic people that lived there, and that the Maris used to live further to the south on the south shore of the Volga, and that they drove out the Permic people back in the day. But yeah. Okay, then Valentina.
Okay. Mari ilmim shimlen shanshije vlak ale marte rashem dime yodishlan vashmutim moed. So I wasn't too sure about this one either, but I think the point was that however researchers on Mari language have not answered all the questions.
Almost.
Yeah.
It helps to read the first thing, the Mari Yilmem Shimlen, as sort of a subordinate clause of sorts. And how would you read that? The Mari Yilmem Shimlen.
I'm not sure. It's like it's not during research on Mari or in.
Yes, it is. It's like when
within
Mari language, comma, and then is what happens when they research the Mari language.
When researching Mari language, researchers or scholars, and I'm not sure about the main verb moash.
Find.
So they did find. They find answers to unclarified questions. Yeah.
And then you're just missing the ale marte, which I hope that's in the glossary as a whole, which is like till now, till today.
So yeah, it's there. Yeah.
Questions that have not yet been answered. Sandra, you want to try?
Yes. Mention mashta chilafi nogor yelmeze vlak Mari yelmem paleshash ulit. In my opinion,
yes,
all Finno-Ugric linguists should learn the Mari language or know knowledge of.
Yes, exactly. You're right. And Luan, the last one.
because of this, we all have to like endeavor together.
Yeah, for this goal. Yes. Okay, and the next, I put into the slide set a map of the Uralic languages, which is also on the COPIUS website. Unfortunately, I did not have the time to translate the legend up here into Mari. That would make it even cooler. But in the text that we're going to read next week, we're going to see some more names of administrative subdivisions, languages, and peoples that we have not yet heard so far. But we will get back to that next week. So are there any questions pertaining to the text or anything we did today before I pause the recording? Like pause for a week? Okay, then for people watching the video, see you in a moment. So we're back with the exercises for chapter 28, and we can start with the first one, translate into English with Valentina.
Okay, so avash den acage pasha gic tolmekshit kuanisht manin yocha kuvarim mushko. So the child cleaned the floor so that their parents would be happy when coming back from work.
Very good. This just randomly reminded me. So I'm in a Hungarian course now, turns out together with the Japanese lecturer of the University of Vienna. And in the break, we were talking about like language teaching, and she was telling me how teaching Japanese to a European audience is such a pain in the behind, because you constantly have to get people to read the sentences backwards, like starting from the end and going step by step. And I was like, yeah, tell me about it. So it was fun to see how this is like a universality of bridging the gap between SOV and SVO languages. And Valentina did that very nicely now. And it's Sandra for the second sentence.
Kongastetul in the jure mannen kova pum pistash. I have several pieces of vocabulary here that I do not remember.
I have several pieces of vocabulary I can offer you if necessary.
I hope they match up.
Yeah, let's see.
For starters, what's pum?
Pu is
tree.
Tree or wood, yeah.
Okay, in this case, probably wood.
Yeah.
What konga was the hearth?
Exactly, yeah.
And okay.
We can also in this context just stove, basically.
Oh, okay, cool. Wait. And wait, Inge was it's not now, is it?
That would be wait, Inde, but sorry, it's my brain freeze. Inge is imperative, third person singular negation.
Yeah, right. Okay, now. In order to not let the fire in the hearth go out, grandma is putting in wood. Put in wood.
Yeah. If I seem a bit distracted and slow to react, it has nothing to do with the class. You can't hear it because I have a lapel microphone, but my neighbor is having a birthday party and there is amazing South Slavic music blasting around the block. But it is catching my attention on occasion. Yeah, so Luan?
Ergische Möngischgott Deutsche Mannen Avasche Dudlan Elektron Sereshim Kortisch. So in order for her son to come home, his mother sent him an email.
Very good. Then back to Valentina.
Okay. Izi Yochablak Inisht Cherlane Manin Tazalik Kishtim izinyek pingi demdash gülesh. So you need to, or one needs to strengthen their health from an early age, from childhood, so that small children will not be ill.
Very good. Then Sandra.
Memnan sadishte shëtçek irëzhemanen, me shoshëm shëtçek omartam sakaltëshëm. Okay, I hung up a is it a worm nesting box?
Like a starling next a nesting box. And
Yeah.
what shoshim is in spring.
Yeah, right. I hung up a starling nesting box in spring. Yeah, in order to have starlings live in our garden.
Very good. And then Luan.
Chodera inche pitemanen kashna ian pushengim shendashkulash. So you have to plant trees every year so the forest doesn't die.
Yeah, very good. And with Sandra's sentence, a little note. So shirchik is a starling and shirchik is a grasshopper. And so I was on my mind still on the grasshopper, and I was reading this and thinking, like, you want to have a nesting box for grasshoppers, so you have grasshoppers in your garden. And then I realized, oh yeah, it's shirchik, not shirchik. Yeah, that's how bad I am with animals. Okay, back to Valentina for the next one, where we want to insert the verb in the imperative third person in the appropriate place. And I'm going to always mark the ones that we have.
Okay, so the first one I think would be Pasha ushnejo manim tudim yorateman. And I think that's that says that you need to like your job so that it would be successful. Yeah,
exactly. And this is also a very common phrase. Pasha, like pashat or pashada ushnejo, is like may your matter prosper, and it's sort of like in German gutes gelingen, and like just hope whatever you're doing is going well, basically. Okay, then Sandra.
Jocha malen koteje manen avaje tutlan yamakim lodo. In order for the child to fall asleep, its mother reads a fairy tale.
Very good. Then Luan.
Student flag dem Umılashıje manen tünükte ogıt umıltarış. So the teacher explains everything like from the beginning or again, so that the students understand this topic.
Yeah, about this Ugric, this is it's basically a long translation from Russian snova, which is then like just again anew or so. Yeah. Yeah. Then Valentina.
Inger inje koshkomanen tudin seresh pushengim shindashkulesh. So you need to plant trees to the river shores or on the river shores so that the river does not dry out.
Very good. And then Sandra for the last one.
Kogel jotamla lije manen me to them dene shurshim. In order for the pie, was it pie?
Yeah, like pierogi, basically the paste.
In order for the pierogi to be tasty, I forgot what shurshim.
It's Spread.
I spread them with butter.
Very good. So now we have translating into Mari. I can help with words if necessary, and we'll start with Luan.
Wait. Sorry. Need some time to think. So it's no. Okay. Wait. So sorry.
A little note.
Which was I'm just trying to think which was the form that I'm expected to use for.
Yes, exactly. It's a bit of a jarring now that we're now going for the shash and then to be things like kai shash ulam. I have to go. This kind of necessitive construction is what we want now in these sentences.
So the Sanyatish, like all the sentences was like is it chila predloshenie Anglichanla gij malashke kuza recherche and then oleta something. Okay.
Yeah, very good. So the exercise key says Anglichan Yilme Gij, but Anglichanla Gij is also something I have heard, and I'm pretty sure we find it in the corpus too. So yeah, and then Valentina, and I have all the verbs, all the words you're missing.
Okay, so let's see. I tried to write, so let's see. And actually, when you were speaking about SOV languages, of course, when I started to translate it, I started from the shash form, and then I had to delete it and do it again. Okay, so I had to celebrate Vashliash, the New Year, at home this year. So I have Tachei, Mangishko, Uim, Vashlishash, Liam.
This is something that I don't think was actually in the chapter yet. So this is very naughty of us, because it is here. It says Teni this year, Uim, the New Year, Mengester at home, Bashli Shash, Ulam Ille. And you have this Ille that you can put after the thing. But I'm pretty sure we did not have this yet. So this should not be here. It should be, if it's in the present tense, I have to celebrate the New Year, then it would be just Vashi Shash Ulam, and that would be fine. And I also swear that we did this before COVID. Yeah. Okay. So sorry for giving you something that could not be solved with the tools at your disposal.
It's okay.
Next one is Sandra. Oh boy, demanding. I can't hear you, Sandra.
I didn't. Sorry, forgot to mute myself. Santa Claus should bring me a new smartphone.
I literally heard Sandra Claus now, but yes.
Sandra Claus, and she too.
Yeah.
Wait. I have a tendency to mix up swan and cold. One is Yuxe and one is used to, but I don't know which was which.
The second one was correct.
Okay, so but I mean, Yuxe Kugeza would also be good.
Would also be good, yeah.
So Yuxe Kugeza Milanem u smartphone Kondeshash.
That would be good. What's in here is actually like to give as a present, that verb where Pöleklash. Yeah.
Okay.
So there is also like Pöleklash, like to give a Pölek, like schenken in German. Yeah. Okay, but very good. Then Luan.
So don't you have to work now? The Gizit Pasham Ishteshash Otel Mo.
Very good. And then Valentina for the last one.
Okay. When do the Finnish students have to go to Mariel? Okay, and we have Kunam, Finn student vlak Marieliske kudalsás ulit.
Yeah, very good. Only difference between what you did and what's in the exercise key is that in the exercise key, it's fin studentflag Marielste kunam kudalsás ulit. So without the WH movement of putting the question word to the beginning of the sentence, which in theory is not necessary in Mari, but it does, Maris do it too. So it wasn't wrong. Okay, so exercise 5, and we start with Sandra. We have to put the if necessary inflected word in the right place. In
Me touch kundan palime. Shanshizm. Ne, shanshizm. Den Vashlien Olena. Today we made acquaintance with.
We met basically.
We met with a widely known researcher.
I just noticed that I jumped over exercise 4. Let's finish number 5 and then go back to that. Sorry about the incongruous order. Then Luan.
Todo narla sayen gutera.
Very good. And just for the sake of completeness, translation.
Oh, so he speaks Mari good. Well.
Yeah. Then Valentina.
Shochmokeche dene shoksho salamlem.
Almost. You would in Mari, you would turn this into a so-called instructive form. And do you remember what the marker for instructive forms is?
No.
N. So it's like
Shokshon. Yeah, you make an adverb out of it. And then, so warm birthday wishes, basically, for your birthday. Yeah.
Yeah, then Sandra.
Finno-Ugristik Yilma. Latvich Yilma Nare Pura. It's yes. Yeah. Finno-Ugristik Yilma. Yeah, I am. What was that? Was it yes? Okay. We had it in the text and I do not remember, I'm sorry.
Okay, so literally purаш is like to step into, and even when you use it in the sense of belonging to, you still say into, like it belong, if you say that these, if you're saying that 15 members belong to this family, literally you're saying 15 languages are stepping into the family. So that would make it, which case?
I thought I said Yeshke.
Not Yeshke, but Yesh.
Yeshishke.
Yeshish, exactly. Yeshish or Yeshishke.
Yeah, 15 languages belong with the Finno-Ugric language family.
Interesting that it should be TZ for whatever reason. I have no idea. Okay, then Luan.
Yilmim Aralen Kodashmanen Ulo Wiem Pistashkulesh. So in order to like save a language, you have to put all your strength in it.
You have to, yeah, very good. And then Valentina, the last one.
Okay, so Shuko Yodish Ale Marte Rashem de Deme Godin. So that was from the text. So many questions or many matters are unanswered or remain unanswered this far.
Yeah, very good. Oops. I just want to mark this as something that I need to fix. One moment. Yeah, let's do it like that. And let's get rid of this coloring because, yeah. It's a temporary thing. So we jumped over number 4, and it's Sandra's turn. So here we just have to say what the students have to do. And so you just have to say, like, the students have to do this, and then translate what it means. And then everybody can get, we can just go through the individual things. So, student vlak mom ishtishash ulet.
Student vlak jelmem tunim shash ulet.
Very good. So
The
they have
students should learn languages.
Yeah. Then Luan.
Student vlak mishuko törshishash ulet. So the students like have to endeavor a lot.
Yeah. Then Valentina.
Okay. Student vlak julam aralen kotshash ulet. So students should defend their customs.
Just here it should be aralen kodishash, because it's the transitive thing. That first conjugation kodshash, this would be like to be preserved. And
Right,
to preserve something is then second conjugation. That's a tricky one. Yeah, then Sandra again.
Student vlak jelmem tunim mashte uluvim fishtishash ulet. The students should put all their strength into the study of languages.
Very good. Okay, so in exercise 6, starting with Luan, we basically want to do, it's basically a diachronic exercise. We want to do the morphologization, which has happened in literary Mari, but not in all varieties of Mari. So we have these sentences here where we have the periphrastic second past tense, and we want to turn it into morphological forms and then also translate it. So starting with number 1.
Okay, so Moscow Gucha Vara Kunam Tolen Olida becomes Tolenda. So like when did you like come from Moscow again? I guess Vara is like some
yeah, it's like emphatic particle. It's like so when did you come from Moscow then, or so, like, or German dann or so. It's definitely not to be understood with the literal meaning of afterwards, later, or so. Yeah. So that you're right there, Valentina.
Kornishto kumkeche ertaren ulena, which would become ertarena. So we were on the road for 3 days.
I would have actually expected the accusative here, cum kechem, that we spent 3 days, but the native speakers didn't do it. So yeah. Sandra?
Yalashtanuno kuse ilen ulet, which would become ilenet.
Very good.
How did they live in the countryside?
And then next one, Valentina, and you probably do not actually need the cultural note that is given there.
Yeah. Sherge unavlakim kinde shinchaldene vashlin ulit vashlinit. So guests or dear guests were met with bread and salt.
Very good. Then Sandra again.
Verisikalik dene pelja churerashke snegem pogash koshtin olena, and that would be koshtina? No, koshtina.
Koshtina, yeah.
Wait, koshtash was go, right? We went to the forest to gather wild strawberries.
Together with
the local people, I guess.
That's it. Very good. And I just realized I skipped over Luan at some point here. Sorry about that.
Yes, no problem.
Yeah.
So then sentence 6, Mari Monchashke Puren Ole Damo becomes Puren Da. So then like, did you go to the Mari sauna?
Yeah, very good. Okay, so now some questions to be answered. We start with Valentina.
Okay. Finno-Ugor ilme tushkash mogai ilme vlak purat Latvic. So how many languages are part of the Finno-Ugric language group? 15.
Then Sandra.
Mogai Finno-Ugor Yemela dene kizit nige ogesh kutara.
You can't give a complete answer here because that would be impossible, but you could say like Mutlan, for example, and then say a few.
I'm kind of my brain is kind of freezing on the translating part. So
okay, maybe let's translate the question first.
Okay, so it's not how many, or is it?
Not how many, but which.
Which. Okay, which Finno-Ugric language?
So which Finno-Ugric languages?
Yeah, now? Nobody? Not speak? I'm confused about the meaning of this.
Well, everything was correct what you said. So which Finno-Ugric languages aren't spoken by anybody today? Which Finno-Ugric
okay. Okay. Mutlan Kalmas?
Yeah. If we want to be super technical, I could complain now because that was a Samoyedic language and so not Finno-Ugric, but like in practice, these categories are somewhat fuzzy. The textbook suggests here, what do we have? Muromian, Meria. What else do we have in the textbook? Yeah, those are the two that we have here. And of course, there are a lot of Finno-Ugric languages where we just where we know from like substrates and like toponymy that there was some kind of Finno-Ugric language there, but that's all we know about it, that it existed. Yeah, and unlikely that we'll ever know more than that. Okay, then Luan.
Finno-Ugor Yulmeflaktene Shukin Kuteratmo, so are the Finno-Ugric languages spoken in large numbers.
Yeah, by many.
Answer like with Vengre Yulmelankara da.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So thanks to the Hungarians, the answer is yes. Then Valentina.
Okay. Mari Yilmem Rasish Tegina Shimlat Tunemit. Okay. So is Mari taught or researched and taught only in Russia? And it's not.
Yep.
That's not the case.
Very good. Then Sandra.
Mari da West-Finno-Ugor Umılаш de Igai Shoktisho Finno-Ugor etymologian Mutem Mogaim Palada. Jesus Christ. It's like, do you know which?
Basically, it's which ones do you know and which ones of what do you know? That's
words Finno-Ugric etymologies, I guess.
Yeah.
I do not know that.
Okay, sounding the same.
It's okay. In Mari and other Finno-Ugric languages. Toga Mutlan Gol.
Very good. And I'm sure we could come up with other, I'm sure that Luan could think of some Maori Livonian cognates or something like that, but yeah. Okay, then we still have a little dialogue to read, and we start with Luan. Everybody read a sentence and then translate.
So, do you speak Maori?
Valentina. Oops, sorry.
Izish Kutirem, so I speak a little Mari, a little.
Sandra.
Mariam Kusto Tomenenat. Where did you learn Mari?
And Luan.
Then Mariulme tuneme kursus I kostenam, so I attended a Mari course for 1 year.
Very good. Then Valentina.
Tide Gilmim Tunemash Nele. So is it difficult to learn this language?
And then Sandra gets a bit of a more difficult one, but only up to the first period.
The Ketchmogai Yelman Tunemash the Tirshamash Kulish is no, how much? No. Of whatever kind.
Yeah.
Like, but is it still like how much diligence is necessary?
It's like diligence is necessary in Tunemashte, in studying Ketchmogayilman.
Yeah, okay, so diligence is necessary when learning whichever language, basically.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get to these ketch forms anyway. This ketch, it's borrowed from Russian, where it is hot. So you can basically, it's hard to recognize it if you don't know it. And it's like the indefinite forms used when you want to express indifference, no matter what, no matter where, no matter who or whatnot. So it doesn't matter what language you're studying, you always will need some to invest effort. Yeah, then Luan.
Sayen kutere netken shukumuten paliman grammatikum tuneman da ere kuterashtachiman. So if you want to speak well, you have to know lots of words, learn the grammar, and always try to speak.
Very good. Then Valentina.
In the Finno-Ugristik Kutirim Muishtim Umilet. So can you understand the languages of other Finno-Ugric people now?
Right, and now Sandra gets the most difficult one, I'd say.
Cool. Umılashıje umılо no Mari yılmam panimek ves Finno-Ugur yılmam mat tunemash kushtilgerak. Okay, so the last part is literally easy. Umılashıje. That's this.
The equivocated.
Radio Yerevan, like thing.
Exactly.
I don't quite understand, I guess.
I don't really understand them, but wait, was that after? Yes.
After knowing Mari, other Finno-Ugric language, learning other Finno-Ugric languages also becomes easier.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. I forgot that we had this. That we had the the whole tree, well, as complete as it can be with in a simple graphical illustration with the Mari names, where in some cases though we have some alternatives, like for Udmurt there's also the form Odo used by Maris, and for Finnish, Estonian and Hungarian there are sort of like some nationalistically minded people who will then use the Finno-Ugric forms, and we'll call them Eesti ilme, Suomi ilme, and Magyar ilme. I find this somewhat ironic because by using the Finno-Ugric terms, you have introduced things that Mari doesn't have in all three cases, because Mari does not have diphthongs, Mari does not have vowel length distinctions, and Mari does not have a sound y. So it's actually the Russian terms there are way more in line with Mari phonotactics and the such. So this is always this kind of thinking that there's something like the Finno-Ugric word stock and language material is somehow inherently more compatible with the Finno-Ugric language. It's simplistic, of course. Okay, so then we still have a little text that we want to read before we then watch the video. And yeah, I mean, you have the vocabulary items there too, but I can help if something else is if there's something else you don't know, or yeah, or whatever. One moment, I'm just going to find it here too before we start. There we go, and I think it was Luan's term.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Joschka Olaste Rossi is Finno-Ugor journalist vlak association Kudem show forum show Pasham Tengalen. So in Joschka Ola the like sixth forum of the Association of Russian Finno-Ugrian journalists started work.
Yeah, very good. Valentina?
Tuško Mordovi, Udmurti, Komi, Kareli, Tinec, Автономный округ, Poshkirt, Kundemlagic, journalist Vlak Tolenit. So a journalist arrived or came. Journalists came from Mordovia, Udmurtia, Republic of Komi, Karelia, Nenets Autonomous Region, and Bashkortostan.
Yeah, very good. Then Sandra?
Uștare memnan yeles eles Finno-Ugor kres ekem shigana ko.
Yeah. Kok?
No.
Kok?
Kok, thanks. Is Kok tujem kum sho eerste Mari elste Vasleyen. I guess I remind you. I'm not sure what to do with the Elisa. It's
like Memnon Elisa. I would read this as a whole thing.
It's so the Finno-Ugric press of our country.
Exactly, that's it.
Okay, met for the first time in Montreal in 2003.
Very good. Then Luan.
Tunam Rossi is a Finno-Ugor journalist like in association so at that time the Association of Russian Finno-Ugrian journalists was made or founded. Yeah,
very good. Then Valentina.
Teminam Umbakije memnam correspondent na Shua. So our journalist or correspondent will continue on this topic.
Right, then Sandra.
Respublikis da regionis perestin pasha lektische dene palarash da lekshe yodashulakim peria kangashash Latstigai amal dene SMI pashayin vlagosis Finno-Ugristik journalistulak associatien kudem sho forumiskjo pogeninet. Okay, this is going to be fun. Okay, the journalists, the Russian Finno-Ugric journalists gathered for their sixth association forum.
Yeah, so for the forum for the association's sixth forum.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Okay.
So basically, I mean, so they.
And these journalists are mass media people.
Yeah. So basically, the mass media workers gathered for the forum of the Russian Finno-Ugric Journalists Association's sixth forum.
Okay, then we have
Latstigai Amal Dene.
Amal was in here. Okay, cause, reason.
Or also purpose could also be like.
Okay, with the purpose.
With exactly this purpose is
and then the purpose is the whole sentence before, basically.
Exactly.
To discuss matters together.
Yeah, and this lecture is like a reason that came up, mattered to discuss questions that have come up.
And to discuss questions that have come up, and to Paldarash, what was that?
Like to announce, to inform.
And to announce the outcome of the work outcome of the press of the region and the Republic.
Yeah, I mean, it was all there. So like to announce the results of the work of the Republican and regional press. Yeah. So yeah, it was tricky, but you got it all, in my opinion. Yeah, then Luan.
Rasien tyle region show da memnan Republik nan rajon lash gech shimle uchastnik tolen. So 70 participants came from different regions of Russia and districts of our republic.
Very good. Then Valentina.
Shukinjo shke kundemis presedene palimem ishtenit. So they introduced the press or newspapers or something of their region, their own regions.
And then Sandra.
Nenet avtomi okrug gechdosho münder unamat Mari kundemish nach tira konde. Okay, how do I say this in English? Like weit gereist.
Like the distant guests or so, like the guests from far away.
Yeah, okay, the guests from the far away Nenets autonomous region. No.
It's correct, but let's see, what is the subject in this sentence?
Tidak.
Exactly, like lachtidak. And what would lachtidak be?
Like just this?
Exactly this, condemn.
Bring?
Brought.
Okay, exactly this brought also brought the guests from the far-traveled guests from the Nenets autonomous region to the Mari region.
Very good. Then Luan again.
Narian mar ola memnon okogostena ikte gena. So I guess this means like the city Narian mar is like only once in our okrug, or I don't know.
Yeah, like there's only one like city of Narian mar, like Narian mar in our okrug. And I'm hoping I'm not telling any lies here, but unless I'm mistaken, Narian mar in Nenets means Yoshkarola. There are several of them all over. Yeah, then Valentina.
Yeah, Molly Chinalatial Sela da Pasiolko Ulet Sandene Presse Nacharak Yangesh. So everything else is just villages, and villages.
Yeah.
And therefore the press is how can I say this? It's losing its power, or it's decreasing.
Not really that. It's just it's more weakly developed. Like,
weakly developed, right?
They're not saying about a downward trend just because it's all so scattered. You don't have like a properly developed press in these places. Then Sandra.
Tumor und Salmaste okrug gestena koktelevide Radio Kokgazet redaktie Pashamstadt. What is tumor?
Tumor is like total, complete.
Yeah, so in total, like if you like look at it in total, so to say.
Exactly, like if you count everything together.
Okay, so summing up, in our okrug, there are 2 television channels, I guess. A radio station and 2 newspaper editorial offices.
Yeah, are working. Yeah.
Are working, yeah.
Right, then Luan.
Tegak vingi vada da visoki voskast liman shonalak sabiktalted. So like wait, Tegak is like just like this or something.
Yeah, or also furthermore.
Also, so also like yeah.
Right. Just noticed something.
Yeah, so these are basically some names of, I don't know. Yeah, so also the magazines named Vingivada, which is like the Nenets word for tundra, and some other it's here. So and Wysoki Возраст, so advanced age, were published.
Yeah. So also these two magazines are published then there. Yeah. Then Valentina.
Okay. Tilen posna sulen nalme kanishiste ursho shachmich lanat journal ulo ajo që vlaklan të vira roder pelen posna savit kish pashame shtat. So I'll start from the second part because I'm not sure about the first one. So in this part starting from Joshua Vlaklan to Vera Roder, so he's saying that culture centers for the youth are doing some publishing work.
Almost. It's like, and for the children, at the like in a like connected with the cultural center, like an own publishing house is working.
Okay, and then the first part, so Tilen Posna, in addition to that, there is a magazine, Journal Ulo, and then that's where I got confused that either it is for retired people or there used to be more magazines and they have stopped working.
No, it's the retired people. This is all one whole thing. So like for those that also for those that are, and what are they? They are in the Kanishischte, in the like relaxation. Return. And yeah, and this is in the Sulennalme. Kanish is like the earned relaxation, and this is a fancy way of saying retirement. I believe it's a loan translation from Russian. That I think there's a phrase like this too, like the earned relaxation is retirement. So there is a magazine for those that are in retirement, and for the children in connection with the cultural center, a separate editorial house is working. Then Sandra again.
To, što nunulan punoška žurnal rušta nenec jemla denelektesh. There, the journal Punoshka, snow bunting, is published, I guess, in Russian and Nenets for them.
Very good. Then Luan.
Thematikum Onchalaszkin Nuno Tüрлӧ. So when you look at the subject matter, and there are different
they're diverse, so like they're different subject matters. Then Valentina.
Okay. Chamanash gina kodesh kushkin tolsho samerek tukim shochmonenets ilme dene ogish kutro. So I think that's that unfortunately young people do not speak Nenets when forming a family or in the family.
No, it's like the Koshkin Tolsho Samerek Tukum is like the young generation that is growing up now, or the
right.
And they do not speak their native
Nenets
language. Yeah, and here just a little note that sometimes it seems a bit strange in Russian context that you have people saying like people don't speak their native language, and then you'd think like from Western context, but if they don't speak the language, it's not their native language. But the whole thing, the concept of native language in Russian, it is often like radnoy yazyk. It's like the language of your like rod, of your kin or so. So it's not like in the like linguistic sense, your L1, but it is sort of the heritage language, the language of your people, so to speak. So in a Russian context, it makes sense to say that somebody doesn't speak their native language. Yeah, then Sandra.
Jamana inzajom mannen разговорникам светена. We published a phrase book in order for people not to forget, I guess.
No, it's more like Yilmana inje yom manen. Yilmana is
Our language.
and inje yom.
I'm not sure about yom, to be perfectly honest.
Yomash is to disappear.
In order for the language not to disappear.
Yeah, we published a conversation handbook. And then Luan?
Tegak luminak globum organisovatlena. So we also organized a club for this purpose.
Yeah, and then last sentence, Valentina.
Okay. Чукчдинак телевидение радио да газет лаштат тидетемим нолталена. So this topic is often mentioned or spoken about in television, radio, and by newspapers or in newspapers.
Yeah, like in newspaper pages. Yeah, almost it's active. Like we also raise this topic often in,
Right.
in radio and in the pages of the newspaper. Okay, very good. Are there any questions pertaining to the text or to this chapter as a whole? If there are not, I am going to stop the recording now, and people watching at home, in the next chapter, we are going to be looking at at Mari teaching in the word at large. So see you all then and there.